So in today's episode, we're going to be detailing the exterior of this S60 from 2002. It has done about 150,000 kilometers and is in a very poor shape and has probably never been polished or waxed properly in its entire lifetime. But today I thought I'd bring you guys along when we get this thing ready for sale so we can start with the 740 T5 engine swap project again. Now, I am not a professional. I've been doing this kind of as a hobby on and off for 12 years, so I'm definitely not a detailing expert, but I think I get decent results, so I figured I'd just share them with you guys. All right, so let's start off with the most important step in the process, which I would consider to be the wash. Now, I always start off with a dry car in the shade or on an overcast day with low temperatures, just to give the chemicals the optimal condition to work. Now, currently it is January here in Sweden, so we're actually below freezing, so it is a bit too cold to do this for it to be optimal per se, but sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do, right? Anyway, I start off by using a petroleum-based degreaser to get rid of all the road tar that is stuck onto the paint job. I apply this quite heavily from the bottom of the windows and down, and avoiding headlights and taillights made out of plastic, since repetitive use of degreaser on the plastic will make it brittle and prone to cracking over time. I will also do the insides of the doors and door jambs, since this is a place that tar, salts and other types of dirt likes to accumulate in. The next step is to pressure wash the entire car and make sure to pay extra attention to the wheel wells, panel gaps, the gas door, etc., just to make sure that there are no rocks or other contaminants left hiding behind the panels. These can vibrate out once we get the polishing pad and stuff going on the panel, and you don't want that stuff to vibrate out and get into the pad and then scratching up your entire paint job. Once you've got all of this degreaser off and finished blowing out all of the panel gaps, it's time to get the alkaline degreaser on there. Now, do basically the same thing with this as you did with the petroleum-based degreaser. This is mostly for organic dirt that is growing on the car. It could be algae, salts, tree sap, stuff like that. And you want to make sure you give both of these chemicals about 5 minutes to do their job. And if it starts to dry off, just apply more of the product. Because it is very important that it doesn't dry onto the paint job, because that can cause really bad damage to the plastics and whatnot. It could really burn your paint, and it's just a really bad idea, especially with a petroleum-based degreaser. When the alkaline degreaser has been on the car for about 2 to 3 minutes, I like to brush out all the panel gaps and tight spaces with a detailing brush. This is a really effective way to get rid of algae on the trim and in between the panel gaps and stuff like that. It is also the only effective way I have found to clean the letters of the badge and all of the other places washing mitt just doesn't really get into. Make sure you go a little extra on the trim to the doors, like the rubber trim that is around the glass part. If you hit that a little bit harder with the detailing brush while the alkaline degreaser is on there, they're just gonna pop really good and become very, very clean. You're gonna see that when you get the brush on there, it's gonna turn almost black because of all the bad rubber on there. Now that the car is completely degreased and decontaminated from dirt, I would recommend using a fallout remover. This takes care of all the iron fallout that gets stuck into the paint job from brakes, studded tires, etc., etc. But I did not have this at home at the time, but the process is basically the same. Apply to the entire car, wait for about 5 minutes. Usually they'll turn like a deep purple, exactly where the iron fallout is, and start dripping down. And then you just wash it off, just like you did with other chemicals. And at this point, your neighbor is probably wondering what the hell you're doing, because now you're about to wash the car at once again, although this time it will be more of a normal car wash, if you will. Now, I like to use dish soap for this step. Now, you only want to use this while prepping for a detailing job. You never want to use dish soap as far as a regular wash of the car goes, since it is very aggressive and will remove all applied wax and coatings, and will also in time damage plastic and whatnot. But in this case, we want the paint to be bare without any coats or sealers messing up the polishing process. So using dish soap in this case is by me okay. Once you're done washing the car thoroughly, just like you normally would with a microfiber wash mitt or pad, you want to get the clay bar out. Because now we're going to take care of the last remains of dirt and imperfections in the paint job before we start the polishing process. The clay bar is exactly what it sounds like, a bar of clay-like material. This will remove everything that is embedded into the paint. After using the clay bar, you will notice that the paint job is nice and smooth, So the clay bar basically cuts or grabs a hold of everything that sticks up from the paint job, leaving it flat and very, very clean. After the claying process, I like to wash the car one more time just to be 100% sure that it is dirt and chemically free, and then I let the car dry in a warm place, preferably overnight. Now, if you don't have a heated garage like I do, which I know is a big privilege, just try to blow it dry with either a leaf blower or a compressed air or something like that. Just make sure that it doesn't have water droplets on it, and make sure that you don't have water behind panels, so that when you start polishing, the water will come out into the pad, because that can mess up the polishing process. The next day, it's time to start masking off the areas that we don't want polishing compound on. This includes all the rubber on the car, also all the black pieces of plastic, since these will stain from the polishing compound. And you want to be especially careful with this when you're a beginner, because you will load up the polishing pad too much and it's just gonna fly polish everywhere. I still do it, and I've been doing it for 12 years. So just be rather safe than sorry, and just make sure you tape up all of the black pieces everywhere, so you don't get tiny spots of polishing compound on it, because they will be very hard to remove. If anyone's wondering, I like to use Tessa tape, the brand Tessa. Use a high quality masking tape is what I'm trying to say. Maybe something gets in the way and the detailing job will have to wait a few days. If you use a low quality masking tape, that might get stuck into the plastic, and then you have a big problem. Anyway, after you're done degreasing, washing, claying, washing again, you are ready to start polishing the car. Now you can either polish a car by hand, but that is nothing I would recommend. In this example, we will be using two different types of machines, but you could do it with either one of them. I'm just lazy because I want it to cut fast and then get rid of the swirls. All right, so let's talk a little bit about machines here. All right, so basically there are three different types of machines that you will most likely run into out there. There are probably several hundred different types of machines, but these are three of the most common ones that you will run into. And here we have the rotating polishing machine, the random orbital polishing machine, and the gear-driven polishing machine. All right, so let's start looking at the rotating polishing machine. Now this is the old school type. All this does is it's basically an angle grinder with a pad on it. And then you set the RPMs right here. And then you have a chart right here which tells you how fast it's spinning. On level 1 it's 1100 RPM, on level 4 it's 2300, etc, etc. And then usually you can look at the back of polishing pastes and you can see the recommended speed. Let's see if we can find some recommended speeds on here. Oh boy, that said a lot. All right, so it didn't say anything on here. But anyway, on some bottles you can see the recommended speeds that you can use for polishing. I usually run this at the first setting. I rarely go above 1500 RPM, so between 1 and 2 is where I run with this rotating polisher. So basically it's like an angle grinder, but with a constant speed engine. This will not slow down if you push it harder. So let's say I put it at 2000 RPMs. And I put some pressure on it. You see, it will keep going 2000 RPMs. It's not going to stop. It's not going to bog down like an angle grinder. That's basically the only difference between a polishing machine and an angle grinder. And an angle grinder works at much higher RPMs. This one only goes to 3700 RPMs. An angle grinder, I think, is 10,000. So yeah. A little bit of a difference there. The big advantages to this machine is that it's fast, very aggressive, vibration free, and usually quite light. And it's easier to do selective polishing, like close to an edge, etc. Now, disadvantages to this machine is that it's very easy to burn through the paint job. It's easy to get too much heat, eventually melting the paint job and then doing a burn mark in it. Another big disadvantage to this machine is that it's quite easy to lose control of it. Maybe the polishing compound kind of binds up on the paint job, and then all of a sudden the machine veers off in a completely different direction, and you might hit some trim or something and take that with you off the car. So basically this is not a very good beginner polishing machine, although I think you should take your time to learn it. Maybe use it on a car you don't care so much about. Learn how it works, because it's very effective as like a first stage polish when you just want to knock down the worst of the scratches, I would recommend using one of these. Now, if you're in the market for a polishing machine, I would recommend the random orbital machine like this one. This is a Rupes 21 Bigfoot, a very, very popular polishing machine. Now, this machine is driven by weight at the front of the machine. This creates a range between 12 and 21 millimeters. The advantage of this range is that each time a different part of the paint is touched, which makes the polishing more of a random pattern. And this results in less hologram formation, the paint gets hot less quickly, and the paint is much less likely to get damaged. So the polishing effect is caused by this thing moving around like this, and also the polishing pad starting to spin like this due to the forces at work here, although it's not connected directly to the engine or the shaft in here. So it works kind of by loss of physics, I guess. Anyway, a very, very good polishing machine. You're very safe with this one. A very great beginner polishing machine. And to be honest, this machine with the right pad, this is definitely not the right pad, and the right compound will outplay all of the other machines. It is a very good machine, although it can be a bit bulky. It's quite big. The pad is 150, I think, in diameter. So, I mean, it's great for big spots like the hood, door, stuff like that. Luckily though, they do make one that is quite a lot smaller. I think it's called the Rupes Nano or something like that. I think it's cordless as well. I do not have one of those because they are very expensive, and that's the same story with this one. I think this one's about $600. So it is the most expensive machine of these three, unfortunately, but it is the best, absolutely. I could highly recommend this with the right pad and combination with polish and stuff. Really good machine. All right, so let's take a look at the gear-driven machine here. Now, this is a combination of the rotating and the random orbital machine. With this machine, both the rotation and the range of like, what can it be, 3 to 5 millimeters are driven by a gear. The main advantage of this machine is that it cannot be pressed still by the user like you can with the random orbital machine. You can press this so hard that this rotation here stops, and then it becomes very, very inefficient. That's not going to happen with this machine. The disadvantages of this machine, however, is that it does not excel in any particular area. It's not really good at anything. It's not the best machine for any type of problem that you have with your paint job. I mean, so if you're out for, if you want to remove swirl marks and stuff, no, this isn't very effective. If you have deep scratches, this is not very effective either. Basically, the only thing that this thing is good at is being safe and slow and annoying. So I would definitely not recommend using this machine at all. I've used this sometimes when it comes to waxing. If I want to wax with a machine, I usually get this one out, turn it down to 1, and apply the wax with this. That's basically all I use it for. I'm not going to talk too much about the different types of polishing compounds. I'm just going to tell you guys that I'm going to use the 3M Perfected kit with the green lid, because this cuts extremely fast. So I really like working with that. It doesn't dust a lot. So I'm going to use that together with the rotating machine and a yellow pad, or at least what used to be a yellow pad. And then once that's done, because you can't leave it at just that, it's going to look good when you look at it here in the garage, but if you take it out in the sun, it's going to show up a bunch of holograms and swirl marks, so you don't want to stop right there. You want to continue on with the second stage, and on the second stage, I use the Rupes machine together with the Ultimate Polish. Now this bottle right here costs about 60 bucks, so it's quite an expensive product. If you don't feel like you want to spend that kind of money, you can always get the Ultimate Compound. This works basically as good. I think it's a little bit wet. I like them a little bit drier, so I'm going to use this one, but you could easily buy these two and you'd be golden. But if you want to cut fast, definitely the 3M with the green lid on it, together with a rotating machine, or the random orbital machine with a lamb's wool's pad on it. That cuts very, very fast as well, if not even better than the rotating machine. But I don't have a pad like that at the moment, so this pad is just not good together with this polishing compound on this machine. All right, so now we're gonna start polishing the car, and then once I'm done with that, I'm gonna hit the trim, make sure to get that nice and black again. And yeah, let's get started. First off, shake up the can. I don't like the first stuff in there. Get that out of there. And then you wanna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4 big ones, 4 small ones. Of course not. Do whatever you want. You just put the stuff on the pad, and you want to rub it in a little bit to start with. Now this is a brand new pad, so it's going to take a while before it... I usually like to do it like this, okay? Not everyone approves of this, but... There. Now it's primed. We're going to have to tape this piece of rubber right here. That's very important. It's better to go up with the tape a little bit onto the paintwork rather than having the rubber exposed. I like to start off on the number 1 and just medium pressure, and just gonna put some lights on you guys so you can see anything. All right, so that was a little bit about the polishing step. Now let's move on to this trim right here and see what we can do with that. I'm gonna try something new here. I'm actually gonna use a heat gun and see if I can get a better result than what I got over here. On this side right here, it's only treated with a ceramic coating. But if you look real close, it still doesn't look very good. So I'm gonna try to put a heat gun to this before I apply the coating and see if it gets better. It's coming out of the nozzle a bit weird. I'm gonna put this on here and see if it makes it better. You definitely got it too hot right there. All right, so I'm gonna let this cool off now, and then we're gonna put the ceramic coating on there. I am not big with ceramic coats. I am a wax guy. I have never really liked the ceramic coating stuff, but for trim, I guess I can make an exception. Well, it goes on very easy. Wow, that is really instant satisfaction right there. All right, so that's how it looks like after a heat gun and ceramic coating. And this is how it looks like with just ceramic coating and no heat gun. I would say the heat gun side looks a lot better. And it's probably gonna last longer. So I'm gonna actually put some heat on this side and see what we can do if we can make this side look as good as this side. Well, that already looks a lot better. Yeah, I'm definitely happy with that. I mean, it's a 19-year-old car and it looks like that. That's okay. I like it. I'm satisfied. Well, I can't really say that I can recommend this product because I simply haven't tried it for long enough time. But I can say it's very easy to apply anyway. And the results look good so far. So I guess we'll have to see. But yeah. Like if I'm gonna recommend any ceramic coating for plastic, I guess it would be this one. So yeah, that's how I got that done. All right, that's all I have for you today. Hope you enjoyed it. This episode got a little bit shorter than what I had planned. I kind of ran out of time, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. And I hope to see you next time when we take the 740T5 engine swap project, the world's longest project name, back in here, and we're gonna start working on it, and we're gonna keep working on it for quite some time. So yeah, hope to see you guys next time. Ha det gött, hej!